Body. Yeah, I did want to say it was a lot better than I remember it. So I must have missed some really good parts.
What was your favorite?
There's like
what was your
1
favorite
minute
part?
if you guys want to watch the last 2
it's
minutes,
hard to...
he doesn't really say much.
My favorite part was just how Jeran is he's just fucking giving up. Like the whole time he's just basically just giving up.
Yeah, I made the case of that before the debate to Gio and whatnot. Yeah, he's giving up. Yeah, he's like,
Like that's Austin right. Just slam dunked him, and Jeran just kept fucking waddling. So.
Well, you guys would throw anyone out then. You'd throw me out just as easily. You guys try to all the time.
Later.
Jeranism left. We didn't throw him out, Dan.
Well, Weiss did. Of course. What do you mean you didn't throw him out?
He
didn't leave.
Before he even got back.
He threw himself out, man.
Dan, calm down. Just let me finish what I was saying. Jeranism had already switched sides before he even came back from Antarctica.
Okay, now can you elaborate why? Because I'd like to talk to you about why. Because you're right. Dan. You're right. Do you know why? You know what happened in the months prior?
Because he's a wife.
Well, it's just that nobody had an alternative model.
Can I answer you, Dan?
Yeah, nobody had
a map and was disappointed that his idolized map was wrong.
I hear what you're saying, but in reality, it was the AE was disproven as a possibility. He had been leaning on that, as many of us were.
Yeah, it was wrong to begin with.
As many of us were. So he lost anything that he can say, hey, look, this is how it works if we just go check. We went and checked. It didn't work that way.
No, he had an emotional-based response from, like, for all intensive purposes there. Like, so much of his rationale that he was appealing to was this sort of emotional kind of jargon. And look, I still don't think the AE is out, personally. I think we've got to understand how the sky works a little bit more, but, whatever. It's just evidence, though, man. It's not proof. I don't understand how he's jumping from the notion of it from evidence to proof.
He didn't. Weiss threw him under the bus before he even got home, dude.
Well, everybody has a different journey. What do you mean? How did Weiss throw him under the bus? Like, you make a claim.
He claimed that Jeran was unavailable to talk to. Therefore, he spouted all those rumors of it being in a giant stadium or a giant projection, and it was all faked. And he kept saying that without asking Jeran, hey, what did you see? He went on the air, he made up stories, and then told people that Jeran wouldn't answer his calls. And it was totally not true.
I love how Jeran's like, well, wasn't his appeal sort of why didn't we come back from the trip and all get together and talk? Like, why didn't it happen? It was like, oh, well, you know where the general conversation is happening over here. You choose not to engage in that, and then you want to complain about the lack of conversation that occurs post-trip. I don't know, man.
Well, you're living in a Discord world. There's a bigger world than Discord. And you should understand that flat earthers have been afraid to talk to me for months. And it's because they don't want to have an opinion, because anyone with a real opinion has to get the fuck out.
Wait, Dan, don't you think though what Witsit was trying to say, like, if Jeran had a justified belief that the Earth is stationary and flat, which the 24-hour sun doesn't affect either of those concepts, why should anyone believe his justified belief now? You know what I mean? That's
that was my favorite part.
Why do you call it the 24-hour sun when it's the existence of the South There is no dome. There is no proof of a dome or an ice wall. And guess what? There's no one going to look. There's no one in Flat Earth going to do anything. That's
You're
the
missing
problem.
it though. Like his justified
belief. Reality is Flat Earthers talk and talk and talk. And I come from a group of people that did things. So I'm just telling you, no one's going to go prove anything from the Flat Earth side, because they've been sitting on it and gatekeeping any bit and anyone that comes across their path for years. So that's the reality. And that's where Jeran's super guilty.
Right.
He was part of that gatekeeping. And he tried
You're not really responding to what he said.
Breathing.
We let Tora respond or something.
He tried to do a
We
couple
understand
things.
your position on that, Dan, or that you have that thought.
Tora, his justified belief was based on the idea that the South was fake, right? That Antarctica didn't exist and there wasn't a 24-hour sun down there.
No, but yeah, but that doesn't have anything to do with the words flat and stationary. That has absolutely nothing. If you have a justified belief and two of those justified beliefs are flat and stationary, then 24-hour sun or south, this is the whole idea of the two straight lines, dude.
Yeah, but he asserts, and I agree with him, although most people don't agree with him, that the only flat Earth map can be the A.E. Gleason's map, right? And so he thought the A.E. Gleason's map was correct, right? And then he went and falsified that. I mean, so that is a justified belief, even if he was, incorrect in the presuppositions of it.
How did he falsify it exactly?
Yeah, flat and stationary specifically, please.
Well, part of flat and stationary on an AE map, right? Unless you're going to accept that the sky is magic, right? And we have Pac-Man, or I guess AE wouldn't have Pac-Man mode. So unless you're going to accept that this stuff in the sky defies all known laws of physics, right? And appears in different places to different people, right? Or arbitrary appearances, then it would be a falsification of that.
Okay, so you're talking about all the stuff that isn't flat and stationary, right? Like, because I'm just saying that's his justified belief. His justified belief was that the Earth is flat and stationary. And then, so therefore, we don't have to go to magic sky. We don't have to go to any of that. This is the Earth claim. Flat, stationary.
So you're just
he
saying
never really promoted himself as a no 24-hour sun in the South assumption that he didn't have any further verification of, Earther. Like, that's not what he was all these years, right? It was more about the Earth.
Yeah, but in his mind, the only possible flat Earth model is the A.E. Gleason's map, right? And for the A.E. Gleason's map to work, right, there can't be a 24-hour sun above Antarctica.
Which is a retarded position. Like, you're literally hand-finging yourself and, like, tying one of your hands behind your back if you're going to take that position. So, like, of all the options and possibilities that could exist.
He also watched the credibility of his peers crumble. And that's why he switched before he left, because there was no credibility amongst his peers.
Well, that's interesting, right? I thought Witsit's rebuttal was quite robust.
Projectors is cracking me up.
What am I projecting? I'm sorry. Don't just blurt shit out. Talk to me, motherfucker. Don't just blurt shit out. I know what I'm talking about.
Okay.
I mean, you're sympathizing with them. You're speaking as if it's them, but it's you. That's
well, I mean, do you talk to him? Do you have any fucking
emotional
idea?
Rationale, yeah.
I mean, I'm just telling you the way it was. He had selected a replacement for himself on Glowbusters before he left.
Yeah, dude, but you're just talking about like the meta drama, not actually the point that he's bringing up.
Well, I'm not, sympathetic. In this past year, he uses the word belief and model a lot.
Can we respond to what he's sort of doing there, right? Is he sort of suggesting that there's a cult-like aspect, I think was the terminology that Jeran used when he was describing what he experienced when he came back and all that rejection associated with it. What did you make of Witsit's direct response to that? Which was something to the... Yeah, but like, that, who cares whether it's before or after? We're talking about like this cult of personality and this issue of sort of drama and critique in the way that we criticize one another. And he said it was a cult-like sort of belief in the AE map, essentially not willing to acknowledge any of the evidence put forward by the 24-hour sun observation. Witsit's response to that was actually, yeah, hey, good. Those people are sort of zealots in their position. It's sort of actually revealing a bunch of like bad actors that we possibly have within the community. What is your thought about that response?
Hey, before you respond, hold on, Tora. I did try to pull that Witsit's with the justified true belief thing or justified belief. I tried to pull it from the transcript. So here, I'm just posting it. I don't know if it pulled it all correctly, you know, but anyways, it should be something close to that because you were asking for it, asking if Galatrax had it. So anyways, that's what I pulled from the transcript. So it might need to be tweaked a little bit with the wording, but I just pulled it from what it said there.
Cool, thank you, Gio.
Yeah, it's just the most basic thing that one thing that's true in a vacuum can't be falsified. Like it's always going to be true. Can't be falsified by something else that's true in another location. So he must not have had any kind of true, you know.
Look, I've got some of the best evidence of a flat and stationary plane. So it's not like I don't come with arguments on both sides, you know? So it's just that if we were wrong at any point, I come to a realization this week that there is one misconception we may have. When I'm expecting the light to arc, like they say, to get over the curvature of the Earth, I kept thinking it would have to be pointed upward to make it over the hump. But in fact, if I was at the primary position on the globe, I'd be at the top, and there would be no upward to my arc. It would all be downward. And that's sort of a fresh realization on my part. Because I know we're shooting at least what we call level. So how is it getting to the spot with this supposed curving? You know, it would have to arc. It would have to
Well, that's
arc.
why, that's why I've always said with all this, like every piece of like information and evidence needs to be put in its proper place. You know, just in general is how I see it. So like if you have this information, you put it there, this information, put it there. And you have to keep analyzing all of the aspects until you get to the proper conclusion. It's just like an investigation of a crime. You know, so you have to be able to put all the pieces together. And even if you don't have all of the pieces yet, it doesn't mean you just jump to a conclusion that has issues with it when you have other evidence that already contradicts that. So it's like you have to kind of put everything in place, you know. So for Jeran to go on for years how there's no curvature and then all of a sudden the sun to flip that, it does show that something's, like, in my viewpoint, out of order in his logic, which Witsit was pointing out all those fallacies. He was quite accurate. Well, there's 10 or 15 different fallacies that Jeran's involved in. And I mean, you know, I don't know if anyone can refute those, but those fallacies stem from not sorting the information and having the discernment to put it in the place of where it goes. And all of the drama with people, if this guy did that to him, this guy did that, that's all sort of ancillary to what the truth is. I understand people are difficult sometimes, and I'm sure there's friendships that people do things, and there's zealots and believers that want to fight others that don't believe them, and that's all. I mean, I understand that's human life stuff, but when it comes to like the actual, you know, information data itself, I think many people think Jeran is, you know, has leaped to a whole bunch of fallacies and is logically logically corrupt, basically, in his bankrupt, in his assessment of it, and then he's using that with all of the other rhetoric, and I think that's why people have found him to be not as credible as maybe he was more in the past.
I beg you to reach me when you have time. I'd love to read you exactly that I just told him. I'm like, dude, you're the same guy. You're just as vulnerable to bullshit as you were. And so he's heard it. And it's hard to communicate with him. He's very stubborn. He's a stubborn man. And this is hard for him. And, you know, I'd love to read you how much I try and get him to see that, you know, that he didn't change, that everyone's opinion of him changed, and there's no friendships around him anymore. The friendships he built for years, they all turned on him. What's he supposed to do? Like, he has nowhere to go.
Dude, if everyone's, I don't know, maybe he's the problem then? Like, if everyone's got a problem with you, he's the problem?
Yeah, Dan, I mean, of everybody who was, let's just use the term flat earth, everybody that was you know, that if you met in person, they would absolutely assert and have a stationary planar flat Earth, etc. Whatever their model or idea of what it is, what percentage do you think of all of them have flipped their position because of the sun? Less than 2%?
No, I think you're denying how many people have left.
Well, what do you think? Well, what do you think?
As of
give me a
2019.
number. Well, give me a number. 8%, 5%. No, I'm just talking about their trip, just the 24-hour sun. And I guess I'm not really referring to people who think it's fake. That's kind of a different deal. I'm saying people who accept that there is a 24-hour sun there, and they still, and they're in terms of flat earthers, and they're still a flat earther. What percentage of them have flipped like Jeran did just because of the sun observation? Is Jeran in a category of 4%, 1%, 9%? Like, what percent do you think?
1%. He's alone.
Okay. What does that mean to you or anyone else then?
Well, it's a tragedy because I'm the next closest thing to being accused, you know, and it's just that it already happened to me all the way back in 2020 and or 2019. I mean, so that's what I mean. I'm trying to tell you that flat Earth isn't very nice to anyone that tries to talk to it, and that's all that happened.
Flat Earth a person? Is it like it has its own personality traits or something? Like its own sort of. This is like you're talking as if it's like an egregore. This is very symbolic of that. Like you speak of ideas as organisms within the population.
Can I read you what I hammered Jeran about Thursday and Friday?
Okay, we're gish galloping. Like, okay. I'm just saying that this rationale that you're using seems to be kind of eerily similar to the, I don't know, egregores that I've listened to and heard about before.
I'm trying to sort things out too. I'm trying to sort things out too. I was asking for his help, alignment, or communication, and Witsit was on Thursday morning laying out his new plans for things, right? So I said to Jeran, I go, I don't know your plan, but I'm ready to challenge Mattoon, Professor Parks, Duffy, and PhD Tony all at once on our line of sight work with flat reality Earth explorers and on the lack of local space being viewed. No rockets from ISS, no Hubble from ISS, no moon from ISS, no satellites or infrared Earth or sky being shown in real time since they started scrambling the live feed in the shuttle era. I'm tired of these guys saying we have nothing. I will not go on Mattoon's show without being hosted elsewhere where he's not in control. If you want action, I can bring it to these guys. I'm getting lost in the sauce with the valid arguments being ignored altogether. What about that little IIG prick? Where is Ross's footage? If you guys know, the blue shirt guys in Nat Geo doubled down and said they had footage of the white stripe disappearing, and they don't, or they would have shown it in their documentary. I said to Jeran, I'm disgusted with all of their emptiness towards real data, which I still have and use. Fuck the other flat earthers. What about our work and my observations? If you finish protecting Bob, we can talk about what flat Earth really did to its truth supporters and how people like myself have never been welcome. And I'm not making shit up, and I do not fit the mold of the modern flat earther. What about math now? Can we finally talk about what is correct and what is not with the plane drop? It's not theoretical, it's math. And I went into that with numbers, which you guys know it's not important. And I said, we did the right thing by repeatedly going out to test our world. I was not standing upon claims that others made. I still don't. He goes, you have nothing, just misunderstanding. None of what you named makes the earth flat. And I said, well, maybe. He goes, we see too far because of atmosphere. He goes, well, it's not maybe. But I agree, don't trust me. I go, well, what about space? I got plenty of missing data, plenty to talk about, plenty they lie about. Look at the state of NASA today. It's actually being dismantled. No Orion, no SLS, no Gateway. They're killing off JPL financially. The truth is in this story. They're not telling us what they discover in space. They lie about our history and our current state of disarray. We're almost at the level of draft and World War, for Christ's sake. Sorry to bitch at you, but you have a platform still if you want it. I do apologize. I'm not your problem. Just admit again that you dismissed the truth in the past and are probably capable of dismissing it again still. So be careful. You have not changed. You are still you're still you and just as vulnerable to bullshit as you were before. Just let me work with you if you want to be real. Push Ross, push McToon and his cronies to demonstrate obstruction from an 8-inch per mile drop. They got nothing better to do, and they could do it with a toy or a boat or a real one. Real-time footage, drop over distance, happening at measurable globe points. Try to use me better, please. I've got arguments on both sides of FE. I got good evidence of space secrets leading towards the biggest questions of our origin, and our destination is Earthlings. He goes, I have no reason to push people who are right. It's silly at this point. In 10 years, we've uncovered nothing. I said, so Ross is right now? And McToon claiming we're all liars is okay? NASA's getting legitimately exposed and dismantled by the Trump administration future plans, and we're being lied to routinely about the nature of the game and the players. In reality, you don't want to go after these people yourself with your name and face exposed, so I get it. But I still got a lot to say about the moon and space, and they're not giving any good answers on. You can demand and hold real discussions if you want. We were flat for more than the flat Earth, as we wanted to level the playing fields in terms of justice and peace of mind. I don't need to make stuff up or lie to challenge the status quo. I go, a one-on-one with you might be fun. I said, how much do I have to pay to actually talk to you? And he goes, watch what happens to NASA being exposed. To be honest, if it doesn't matter anymore, we're lied to about where we live. We're on a sphere proven day in, day out. Go play with Google Earth. Find one spot that doesn't match observations. Oh, that's right. Matches everywhere. Perfect, because that's where we live. Most, if not all, flat earthers are liars. Right? And so
I mean, this is, I mean, you mentioned before, like the percentage who are in his boat. It's like 1%. This is kind of why, dude. Like, listen, I mean,
he's hard to deal with. So
yeah, so, I mean, it's not like everyone turned on him. Well, whatever, people have probably done things, turned whatever, but I'm just saying it's like he's in like a fraction of a percent, and he's trying to lead a charge in something that no one else is into. Like, other than the globe earthers, the globe earthers give a little bit of a side heckle, but they already lost interest. So I'm just saying, like who is he really? What is his audience now? Like the fraction of a 1% that no one really agrees with.
No one. Yeah, he has no audience. No.
Yeah. So sorry, but that's the path he chose. I mean, his viewpoint holds the integrity of what his viewpoint is, and other people don't resonate with what he's doing. I mean, Witsit just called out about 15 fallacies, which I think were all very accurate. So if he's in a fraction,
wait, Witsit says it's not a place or a thing. You know that, right?
It's not a what?
Earth is not a place or a thing. That's his position.
Well, I'm just saying I'm just saying Witsit called out so many fallacies. So if somebody is extremely fallacious and in a fraction of a percentage of a community, you know, that is still bursting forward, and he's in that, it makes sense that a lot of people are like losing interest in what his thrust is, or what he's all about. Like, Jeran's not going to lead a charge in any way, even though he's trying to. He's calling everybody liars, and we need to stop lying to kids about what flat Earth now, or as he used to say, he's got to stop lying about the globe. Like, I'm just saying his whole position, like, virtually no one resonates with it, or very, very few.
Yeah. So let me finish, and you'll see how disconnected he really is. Thursday, now this is like 9 p.m. and I go, Witsit fully sidesteps and doubles down at the same time. What the fuck? And I give him the link to Witsit's thing, figuring he might not even know Witsit's on, you know? And so he says to me, I'm not watching him waffle for 2 hours. If you have a timestamp, I'll take it. Otherwise, I got too much going on to listen to him for 2 hours. And I go, he says you're debating him on pay-per-view Saturday. So if you wanted to pick apart his current position and his definitions like that of grifting, I suggest you watch. He's pretending to start more stuff again, rearranging the definitions of things like lifetime and knowing into his mushy attempts to make a living. And Jeran says, he'll probably find out he's lost a ton of support and the debate will not go well for him, as I have a list of things he can't answer. But good point about list.
But Witsit hasn't lost his audience, though, at all. He hasn't lost his audience. Not at all.
He's lost his credibility.
I don't think so. Who thinks that?
He says it's not a place or a thing. Like you, he's backtracked on anything that mentions flat Earth, so he can be protected from that. So
I'm not really trying to. I'm not trying to like rep or support everything Witsit does. I'm just making general statements. I mean, I have some of my own thoughts on the unfoldings of everything, but I'm just saying, like, in general, is all I'm saying is that maybe Witsit did take a break, but I mean, it seems like when he comes back, when he is back, and his streams and people still want to hear him do debates, and they're going to pile in, and he's going to have his viewers and so on. As far as I know, I'm just saying.
Can I ask Dan a question? What's wrong with not objectifying the Earth?
I could read you it that I had realized earlier, the thing about atheism that I was talking about, and then agnosticism. Because as an agnostic, I realize holding no position is really kind of dangerously stupid. To run around and go, I don't believe in stuff, is almost as dumb as saying I believe in something. It's coming back.
Yeah, but I mean, would you say that consciousness or something like that, right? Like the idea of consciousness is not an object, right? And yet it is the thing, like this realm is animating our consciousness in many respects. So this is where I think Wits is kind of coming from. It's not, I don't know. Do you get what I mean though? Like just because he's not calling it an object or wanting to specify geometry or shape or something like that, he's sort of actually pointing, I think, at like just to call the Earth like a ball or flat or whatnot is too simplistic. But that's up to, I don't know.
I agree.
So I think I was wrong about our long distance observations, because I assumed that you'd have to go up to make the arc make it to the other side and land properly. In other words, if the math was wrong on the refraction, it would miss the mark by going too long over our heads, or it would hit the water before it hit us. So the arc would have to be perfect, which is why I doubt it. But to make it, I assumed that you would have to point upward to make the arc shape across, I guess, a flat plane. But on a globe, it would all be downward from your position. So I think I was wrong about something that seemed matter of fact, is that you'd have to point up to take advantage of the arc shape. So that was interesting. I mean, when I try and look at it from Glober perspective, I have to try and figure out what we've been doing. And of course, why they're lying about what.
So Dan, with the Jeran thing, if we use the term truth movement and that kind of phraseology, and I know that, maybe some, I think you've even mentioned, or Jeran, his frustrations, like, this isn't a truth community, made all these phrases. Well, if Jeran is in this like fraction of a percent and he's saying that he's a truther and he's moving forward in the truther journey, and the rest of the 99+% are all actually on, still on the truth journey with a stationary planar Earth, what I'm saying? Like Jeran's not leading a whole thing into what he thinks is the truth.
No, he's not. But you're also suggesting that there's that there's something that he could go with or follow or work with. He's lost. There's nothing to work with or work on because he was wrong about something that he determined was a truth. More importantly, remember he had just given up on religion, and then he moved because he had some problems with friends. And, like what makes people decide to check out is interesting. For instance, as long as you know me, I haven't watched the news, right? So what do I know what the fuck is going on?
He didn't determine it was the truth. He believes. He has faith. You mean he can go? He lost religion. He got a new religion.
Yeah, well, I choked. I swore that this didn't have anything to do with belief. and I choked because I forgot about subconscious, belief. I wanted it to be a flat
Well,
Earth.
maybe, so there is a potentially some level of a movement of people that like are truth oriented when it comes to like 9/11 and the food system and some of these things. I guess there is. I don't know how large that community is. Like basically globe Earth kind of truthers, I guess, but not really with the Earth, but with other things. So I guess there's that community, which is pretty small. I guess Jeran could maybe jump on that, try to get into.
No, he's got no cred. He's got no cred there because he fucked up, and he's known
because
as
he was a flat earther for 10 years, and they all think he's
especially if he uses that name. Let me finish what I said with him, because like I said, Witsit came on and he goes, "I'm not watching him," and Jeran was a real dick about it, right? Because I got too much going on, and I said, "Listen," he says, "You're debating him, da 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 da," and he finally says, "Well, but good point about listening. I didn't know he was going to talk about, but I'll have a listen." In other words, I had to beat him on the head to even notice that Witsit was out there. Witsit probably had to beat him on the head to even be on the debate. It was lower energy for that reason. They don't want to fight because this flat Earth, like self-censoring, has gone on for so long that it's the way it is. Everyone tries to not shit on each other, and it's kept it from being honest. It's kept flat Earth from being a truth movement. This lack of honesty. And when everyone came up with nothing, Jeran did fucking give up on that before he left. We all knew there was going to be a 24-hour sun. So how that was handled got put in Weiss's hand. Now, if Jeran had an agent,
well, let me ask you this, dude. If from the perspective that the Earth is stationary and planar, the planar foundation, foundational geometry, but, and I'm not really asserting this, I'm just saying, from the perspective that it is flat and stationary, but it's not the AE map, and it's just not the AE map, and there is a 24-hour sun in the south. If there's been like a quote-unquote movement of people who are in general having the stationary planar, and then some percentage of them, a good majority, have leaped on that AE map, and then that thing is false, then what happens? Is it like peeling away more deception, and then the real truth seekers keep rolling?
No, everyone tried to jump on Joe Hanvey, and he got dogpiled with a whole bunch of people
not jumping on Joe
that were desperate to have something to grapple onto.
But there's only a few that jumped into the FE map, because because most of everybody was like, yeah, that's just a model that doesn't really exist. That's just a globular model. It's just a global projection.
But the projection of the northern hemisphere, essentially.
So that to Jeran say, "Whoa, that was our map. Yeah, that's the way it's supposed to be laid out." This is just ridiculous. Probably in his quote unquote sect of the thing, probably everybody thought that was a thing. He said, what's his name had a Ouija board with it. They should have Ouija board.
I always thought of the AE map as like a partial blueprint. It's like a partial blueprint, and it has some functionality, and it's a neat thing to just sort of have. I think it's elegant. It's beautiful looking. It kind of looks like an eyeball with all that from the top, coming out from the center. But I always thought of it as like a partial blueprint, and it never.
But it's still a globe projection. If it doesn't work, the globe model squished down like that probably does not work. But it's the globe model, not a flat Earth map.
Why would they give us the full map if they didn't have to? I just presume that there's more or something different about it.
Yeah, to think like when I first came across flat Earth stuff in 2004, like researching Flat Earth Society, and there's that AE map, to think that was just it. Like, oh, they're lying about the globe and this is it. Like, to think that there's this much deception and hiding of information and concealing of things, and the whole World War II, everything that happened after World War II, and to think that they're just putting it right on the front of the World Health Organization, the United Nations, like that AE map with their 33 sections. Like, to think, I know there's that truth in plain sight idea too, but it's pretty kind of a leap to think that they would just give us the true thing right there unless someone wants to come from like a truth in plain sight perspective. But it would make much more sense that they'd be concealing what it actually is and then giving some kind of a partial flat Earth blueprint thing. And then it kind of does fit with the no 24-hour sun thing, at least with like that Gleason's thing, which then leads into, was that all built up to try to, like this whole sort of movement, as it were, that had that AE map with the no 24-hour sun, at least as some kind of a part of it all that was being pushed, to have that then, quote unquote debunked right now in 2025, then they're trying to squash it all out. And you get guys like MC2 and everyone else, like they're trying to wipe the floor or whatever they think they're doing, trying to like end it all. And even though they're not, because they're still doing debates and they're still hugely into it. So they're actually just feeling it moving forward. But nonetheless, I mean, Duffy's verbiage and all that is they're trying to end it and get everyone, quote unquote, thinking about what they think are more important things. Meanwhile, they're still talking about this. So they haven't moved on at all.
Yeah. And it's crazy because like when the globe models find something wrong with their shit, what do? Oh, we got to go back to the drawing board, but we still ain't disposing of this bullshit map or globe projection or shit that we have. They work around it. I mean, they add freaking bullshit to it, right?
Oh, bro, they don't know what dark matter is. Earth must not be a globe. There it is.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's pretty telling that Jeran has worked diligently the last 6 months to fulfill every Glober stereotype possible and just sound like the most unconvinced person.
Yeah, 100%. Definitely. It's like he's playing devil's advocate at the moment for some odd reason.
I mean, it'd be one thing to say, well, I don't know, or that's, he said that's interesting before, or like, data points or whatever. Like, it's better to just say, well, I'm not too sure, or I don't know, XYZ, but to fucking double down on the thing that he absolutely couldn't know, that's like, okay, you're full of shit.
It's not like that, guys. Sorry.
It's not like what? You're kind of quiet, Dan.
Yeah,
for me,
I'm kind of dumbfounded because I was treated this way when I exposed any portion of Flat Earth. You spend most of your time exposing Mark Sargent, as so like when he realizes there's a problem because the integrity of everyone around him had broken down. There was nobody saying anything legit. So.
Well, don't we all represent our own integrity? Like Jeran can't represent someone else's. You can't represent someone else's, right?
Except that poor Jeran got fucked into defending Bob, and to this day still. So that's the point. Is that the integrity?
No, man, he didn't have to do anything.
He does, and he did, and he does. So whether he had to or not is what I just tried to tell him. When you're done with that shit, we could talk about what really happened to Flat Earth and how anybody that spoke out got tossed. So, I mean, that is a reality. It's not like like Mark says, hey, trolls, here's my phone number. Come on the show. Or, and nobody ever calls. It's not true. And then Bob told everyone that he doesn't censor anyone. And then he turned to Rodrigo and gave him a list immediately of people to ban. Immediately after going on the air and saying that.
Well, I mean, Dan, like when you mention these things, I often say the same thing, which is that like if you have like a corporation, as it were, or like a business, and you're like promoting something, yeah, you do all have to be on the same page, and that's why in those things usually there's like a CEO, and then there's managers and co-managers, and you're trying to get a message out, or you're selling a product, whatever it is, and that does make sense, especially if there's money involved and stuff, that you would all want to be on the same page. You could argue that government sort of should be like that, like everyone's trying to work together and and so on, even though government's a little more complex. But I mean, in general. But the thing is, like, when you talk about this kind of layer of it, these are like YouTubers. These are people. These are just dudes who have a channel. So I mean, to try to like have like more of a, I'm just using the word corporation right now, but to have some more of like a cohesive thing, expecting that all quote unquote people who are flat earthers are going to function like that, where there's like managers and there's like a series of, quality control of all the arguments. That's tough to do, man. I mean, you got a lot of different people on different channels that have dramatically different, they want to push their arguments. They want to get others to do their arguments. They get mad if you don't do their arguments. They think they're right. The other guy thinks theirs right. This is much more of like a decentralized thing, like when I'm in here, I don't expect that that everybody has to agree with me at all, or that I need to fix everyone else's ideas. You know what I'm saying? If you're going to do that, it's tough.
The honest result of everything you said was FE Core and the emergence of FE Core. Unfortunately, that didn't turn out to be an open book group. It turned out to be a gentleman's club, and they didn't have to tell us. And and the bureaucracy there really exposed the integrity problem of Flat Earth, because we thought many thought FE Core was legit, being the 501c3 and having a worldwide panel. That's what people thought. And I thought that they were working towards other things in terms of homeschooling and curriculums and things. I thought they were going to be doing a lot more.
Yeah, I was always kind of skeptical of those guys. I didn't make any big judgments, but I always just kind of watched them from the periphery, saw kind of what they were doing. But I always had a little bit of I don't know what the right word is, uneasiness or kind of skeptical. I don't have anything negative to say or positive really, but yeah, that was an interesting time. And a lot of people were repeating their data and their arguments. So they did seem to have kind of a wave in that way. But yeah, I know it did seem to have a gentleman's club vibe to it. There was a lot of like restricted around, like for the idea of being like a research group, it just seemed there was like delay and release of data. I don't know. I don't know what to say. I don't really have anything major to say about them, but
it was bureaucracy, and Bob causes bureaucracy. You can't go against Bob because of his personality. That's what was wrong with a lot of Flat Earth globebusters, Jeran's issues, and FE.
I mean, whatever though. Whatever. Okay, look, everybody had a disagreement with Bob. Whatever. But up until recently, I had never seen Jeran support something disingenuously. And if he's going to come out and say all of these things that he's saying now, then his current position is the most disingenuous position.
He didn't really bring a debate, right? He just showed up. He didn't bring shit, right?
No. It's not about what he did when he showed up. It's that when he actually produced arguments and did research, they were bangers. They were bangers. And so he dude, most of his stuff from the past, which I've downloaded most of it, the arguments are so timeless. Like I can't think of any way that he could just, wipe that slate unless there's some other forceful means to do so. Whether
Right.
he's paid off, or like whether he's, was pushed into a corner, or whether he was behind the whole fucking thing in the first place, which makes the most sense to me.
Well, because you
Even
need a
still.
villain. He's a victim.
No, I don't need a villain, because
Well,
I've done a bunch of fucking research, and let me tell you why. Okay, I know that they have staged personality conflicts between different channels. They've intentionally segmented our community to different people so that not one group doesn't know what the other group is doing, like the Fed group and the 24/7 group. And in this group, for example, would be a different group. Then they have the YouTube groups, but they intentionally will cause arguments and problems between each different content creator. And furthermore, I have seen the result of how they treated the post 24 Sun behavior, and how they prepared for it in advance. Dude, they were, it was all soldiers on deck. It was all men on deck. I watched them roll out for the psyop, and then I watched them respond to the psyop that they just got done committing. So I know who some of the players are, because they showed investment into the response. They had a take, and then they pushed that take. Right? And you fucking swallow that egg, bro. I watched you swallow that egg. You're like, oh, Mark Sargent, they just came out with these letters. Dude, they fucking had these prepared letters from people who are basically extinct. that are all part of the same fucking crew. Like, look, and you know what? Jeran is quoting all those people. He's the one bringing up those names as if they're relevant also. The dude is just another extension of whatever that narrative is. So I'm not isolating him just for no reason. It's because I've had my fucking eyes on him for a long time. I found him to be not credible. He seems very disingenuous, and he's falling right in line with their narrative. The people who I know, who their private lives are, and who their actual identities are, who aren't even real fucking people. So it's called the Psyop, bro. It's called the Psyop. So I don't care what your take is. Okay, I'm following I'm following the shit on the ground, and this is where it goes. Jeran is full shit. Full shit. Sorry.
So not knowing isn't a strong for me right now, and not having any groups to work. So I don't see any momentum going forward. I don't see like that. One day we were going to out, one day we were going to look, one day somebody would go check, and now it happened.
Okay, so we got more information, and now we go to see what more can we do, because we do not know the full layout of the Earth. Do we, Dan?
Yeah. I'm going to accept the word "we," and I'm going to include myself in saying I don't know the layout of the universe, but it seems like we're all pretty sure about the layout of the continents.
Yeah, well, like wherever they went, at whatever time they went, that thing happened. Okay, we didn't get to check the stars. We didn't get an extended stay. We didn't watch it. We didn't watch the sun begin to have that phenomena and then end that phenomena. It happens for a specific amount of time in that area, which we didn't observe. So supposedly, all right, this is less. It is a data point, but unfortunately, out of 100%, this is less than a percentage of a data point. We're talking like 0.3. So,
and I suppose the flight times, distances, and land.
Well, I can't verify that either.
So let's skip all that. Let's just look down the road. Let's go find that. Let's go follow that ice.
YouTube isn't where you're going to find your answers. That's the future.
But what if there's no dome or ice wall?
There's a containment. What about who cares about the ice wall?
That was a clever kind of flat earth choice of words.
Well, like I've had to defend this point. Like they're like, oh, well, you think there's a wall, or you think there's a dome, or you think what? Dude, if you just follow the logic of physics, there is containment. Period. And if you say that, oh, well, we have pressure differential out in, there's wind and gusts and, so what? You have 7 different layers of atmosphere, which are at homeostasis. You can't have that if there's convection everywhere.
Sorry, Dan,
so something is containing. What?
I was just telling Dan his mic was feeding back. Go ahead.
Oh, well, look, there's containment somewhere enough that there's stability in the ecosystem. All right. So there's different layers of atmosphere, which are steady. Some nights you can find in like complete calm where there's not a breeze and there's no ripples on the water. You can see a full mirror. Okay. There's no motion, right? Everything's steady. When you have things moving, it's because something got heated up and something got colder, right? And that heat rushed to the cold. It's called low pressure, high pressure. This is regular weather labeling. So there's some kind of like convection happening in the sky, and then there's a rotational motion from the stars and whatever kind of drag that's applying to the Earth. But like, you cannot extrapolate and just say globe. There's way too much fucking wrong. Way too much fucking wrong. And Austin said it perfect. If you even have if you have to make like second and tertiary corrections above and beyond your presumption, then it's not direct line of sight. And if it's not direct line of sight, then you're looking at something through, like, whatever you're seeing is being projected on something, which is basically, it's basically admitting that the whole presumption about the globe is incorrect. The sky could not take place. And I agree with that. It could entirely just be that there's a screen above us, and that screen is collecting an image for us to be displayed to us. And that screen could be a layer of liquid, could be a solid surface, because the distances between the things. So, like, example, if you have let's say that you have a screen above us, whatever that screen is, it's some kind of solid surface. And then you have a sun 500 miles away, and then you have stars, like a myriad of stars, hundreds of thousands of miles away. Due to that screen and the way it culminates, it could appear the way it does now. And you could have a variety of refractive effects, which include one thing stay in one place and something else literally appear on the other side. Not knowing the nature of the sky is a big fucking problem. It's just a big problem. And the globe, it looks to simplify that problem and just say, you know what? It just is where you see it. Forget everything else. It's just wrong. It's totally wrong.
I've done everything I can for years, and
Well, you've done your best, Dan. Maybe stop being so hard on yourself and other people. You know, maybe this wasn't like supposed to be figured out in a small period of time. Or maybe it wasn't even like the main point of life. Example.
I think the job was making it part of pop culture, when it had its run, and that was really important. It's like, look, there really are flat.
Well, what about this? What if they intentionally rolled it out to make it popular and have a cooked up narrative that they could expunge it so that going forward into the technocracy, this is always going to come up as something that's in the Wikipedia under Flat Earth
More importantly,
for the rest of time.
Could you control people simply by feeding shit into their YouTube? Could you amass?
Of course they do.
And you can
That's
see that.
incredibly soft.
Dude,
People
your
are that
feed
wild.
is literally, it's a special, it's called a feed. They give you what they have, like, psychological profiles on people, and they feed you what they want you to see. It's a feedback loop. I don't get the same recommendations that other people get. There's like some corners on the internet where I've just never seen shit like that ever. It's just because they've never recommended it to me.
I think that's a bigger deal. What we're under with this new world of programming. What is really
Oh, it's a big
happening.
problem. There's
I know.
a thing called ElsaGate that happened a few years back, where, like, on all these platforms, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, etc., they all had their own sections of basically child predatory material. And it included comments from predators who are all linking in code to each other. And the market for that content was so segmented, it almost appeared as if, and I would imagine it is the case because they can't control that all of this content was hidden from normal viewers. That you would only get this content if you were seeking out specific weird code words in the search and then interacting with the comments and clicking on the like. So, like, they have whole, like, hidden parts of these websites hosting, like, dark web type content. One of the biggest pornographic sites in the world is literally fucking Twitter. You don't see that, though. That's how good they can control the feed.
What's the name of that documentary? Like one of the guys that said how dangerous it was. All this technology.
I don't know what you're talking about.
One of the Facebook guys got out because of how they couldn't help but manipulate people at this point. He was talking about the dots that come up while you're waiting someone to type, and how you'll sit and stare at that, and what a bold trick that was when you know somebody's responding, and how you'll just stare at it waiting.
You talking about the guy who made Facebook, and he came out trying to say that he regrets it and that it's ruined society?
Yeah. Do you know that the phone app, unless you go in and turn it off, is listening to you when the app is?
Yeah, it's worse than that.
So for Jeran, the suggestion is continue the series Going Nowhere. Pick apart other stuff that hasn't, moved along in a fashion he suggests, or we suggest, whatever. I think the Going Nowhere series, like Going Nowhere since 1958, is a viable series, and he could go forward with that. I think it would be fun to do Flat Earth Hollywood and Are You Smarter Than a Flat Earther, and still, like we used to do, just watch people get triggered and see what they believe and why, because that's always fun. So there is kind of an out, and things to do, but
what Jeran should go do is go measure the curve. See maybe if we can find that.
Yeah, but he's been shitty in the field every time he's shown up. He's bad luck. Every time he shows up at observations, it's not his fault.
Yeah, so this time, every time he goes, this time he might find the flat instead of. Because usually when you try to find flat, he finds supposedly curve.
When I met him, I told him to stop doing that. I go, Jeranism, journalism. I go, stick with what you do.
What was it? What in that debate with Witsit? What was it when Jeran said that he's not going to have a channel anymore and he's going to be off of YouTube? So is that his expectation? He's quitting, or?
Yeah, there's a big old X in front of it now.
Oh, he said right on that debate. He said that's why I'm not going to have a channel anymore and I'm not going to be on YouTube anymore. He said something like that, right? So is that just rhetoric, or is that what his plan is? He's going to.
Yeah, where did that shit come from? For real.
Yeah, I know he's taking out a bunch of his old videos that contradict what he says now. So
I think that was a bad move. He could have put a disclaimer in the front of the whole channel, because now he had to pick and choose stuff, and it was an emotional mess to do so. I think that was fucked up.
Would he put a tag on it that says, "I was really, really wrong for 10 years, but now I'm really, really right. Trust me now"?
He doesn't say that.
No, I'm just joking.
He doesn't say follow me or trust me. He doesn't.
No, he kind of.
He knows he fucked up. He knows he fucked up. Come on.
Yeah, but he's expecting that now he has the truth, and everyone's supposed to now jump on board with him. And if we're not, then we're all cult crazy, whatever. Well, it's kind of the vibe he's putting out.
He calls all the flat earthers liars now. Was he like that was one thing that stuck out to me, right? It's like now that we don't agree with him, he instantly calls us liars or something. As if, like, what would it be? Could we infer that he's been lying for the last 10 years? I know that he thinks that he feels like he's been lying or something, but I wouldn't have called him a liar. So wouldn't call him a liar. Just delusional.
He could have said what he said was the AE map is wrong. Well, that would have been perfectly fine. Nobody would have get mad at that.
But his biggest and closest peers are liars. Mark's lying. Weiss is lying. The people around him were lying.
Well, then he should move away from those people. I mean, he shouldn't freaking use the stereotype fallacy.
He's using those people for content. Like he's literally he's slandering, attacking all the people right? And then he's playing victim at the same time.
Okay,
while
so
he's
no, but
monetizing
if
it.
you're
It's
calling
like, oh, this will be my
attacking
final
defending,
video.
what you're
Oh, this is gonna be
calling
my final Flat Earth
attacking
video.
is defending. So get the order right, so you don't come in so damn slanted and fucked up. He's been attacked. He didn't go after anyone.
Yeah, based on his behavior.
Just get it right. When he comes on to defend himself, you can't call it attack.
Yeah,
It's
he
not
doesn't
fair.
though.
Well,
Okay,
He
well,
doesn't
who
defend
slung
himself.
more
He
insults?
just
Go ahead, sorry.
I did. Yeah, go ahead, man. I didn't hear you.
I'm just going to point out that I like during the course of that debate that I saw there were more ad homs and insults coming from Jeran than there was from Witsit. So just as a general observation, I mean, he's the thing that he's critiquing and sort of says he hates and says that it shouldn't be done or something, or the thing he's retaliating against is actually something he's participating in such an activity.
I feel like Witsit got shit on more than what Jeran did. Like Witsit got so many gates.
Huh?
The vape gate, hot breath gate.
Oh,
No.
yeah, absolutely. You mean in response? See, that's what I'm saying. Like Witsit was fucking drowning in trolls, and like Austin is there, like making making his own bed, like turning everyone into an enemy based on his behavior. Where Witsit is literally just like spending all of his time defending himself, being fucking clobbered upon.
you're
The
not
only thing I
measuring
would
the
say is
backtrack
that
very well. You're measuring the backtrack very
Jeran would have seemed to have, like, in pop culture, I saw his face sort of show up in critiques of TFE and on Facebook and stuff. So I don't think Witsit was the, like, internal critiquing seemed to be or criticism seemed to be coming or going at Witsit more, and then Jeran seemed to be more sort of like a general public audience.
Yeah, one of the things though I saw today, because I saw one of his old videos, Jeremy's kind of a little bit of a bitch though, because he used to get a lot of rhetoric from Glovers. And he was like, "I'm gonna turn off my chat, no more chat when I do that. Just be aware that if my chat's turned off because it's the Glovers, are just being too blah blah blah." So now if he's getting shit from flat earthers, then I can definitely see he's just a little girl.
Yeah, well,
I'd say a lot
I
of
don't know.
I feel bad for him. He fucked up.
I'd say a lot of bonds would actually, I mean, what would you say? Like the bonds between these people was just simply because they had a common agreement, not because their personalities aligned or they had similar morality or ethics. It's just purely because they had the same outlook on the world. And then all of a sudden, when that shifts, yeah, like everything just breaks apart. And you think that they were friends before, but I just point out, I mean, I don't know. A lot of my mates, I don't need to agree with them, sort of, I mean, at least within some sort of moral, ethical code, but our outlooks on reality completely different, and we don't need to argue about it. We can have other discussions. For some reason, like when you get a group of people that are all orientated around an idea, and then it turns out one of them changes their opinion on that idea, yeah, okay, well, it's just going to explode apart, isn't it? Because it was a poorly established relationship in the first place.
It was really a
I think,
last.
I mean, what's the difference between turning on versus losing respect for someone in general? Like, how many people just lost respect for Jeran's integrity, his logical stability and solidity when it comes to either being fallacious or not, etc. His discernment, his quality of communication, his integrity in terms of how he treats other people and how he either honors or does not honor others in the community. Etc. So if people have lost respect for him, isn't that different than necessarily turning in some way that somebody else is doing something wrong against him? Like where's the discernment or the define between people just losing respect for what his path is versus attacking him outright? Which I don't think it's right to do the just straight slander stuff, but I'm just saying, like, when we're saying like everyone turned on him, it's like, well, isn't a great majority of those people, they just lost respect for him on multiple levels, and then there's maybe only a portion of those that are actually saying whatever slanderous things about him?
No, Flat Earth is riddled with trolls. I mean, think about it. It's really a whole troll fest in itself. You know, I mean, you got to admit that it really is.
I think it was a
When you say that
self-fulfilling
sort of
prophecy.
stuff, sorry, Riggs, you wanna?
What'd you guys say?
Yeah, it was a self-fulfilling prophecy. Like, you know, like you say that he was attacked and stuff, but honestly, he probably just kept saying he was attacked, and then kept provoking, and then got attacked, and just kept. You know, he created his own spiral. It was self-fulfilling. Like,
Here's
dude,
the
even
thing.
in the interview in Antarctica, he's like,
Exactly.
"Oh well, not going to have a channel anymore." Haha.
If he had a handler and if he had a business of any kind, he would have walked up to that mic. He would have said, "Interesting," and walked away. Came back as a Glober and made all the money McToon does by art. That's what he should have done.
Well,
But
that'd be off script, but
that would
no,
have been the one word he should have said. Other than that, he never should have spoke. You know.
Yeah,
Period.
one of the things that he said, Gio, was that when he was down there, he was seeing the sun come from right to left. But when we were watching that shit from the from Buenos Aires and from the that video that we have that live video from over there, it was definitely coming from east to west. It was
Yeah.
southeast, but it was still from east to west. It wasn't going from like west to east. That doesn't make any sense.
No, it goes from right to left. Like if you're in Punta Arenas at 53 and the sun's at 23.4 degrees and you're looking north at it, it's gonna rise. It's gonna rise in your east and go right to left. If you're looking north.
If you're
So then,
looking north, but we were looking south when we were watching the sun. We were watching the sunrise.
yeah, but if you're looking south from Punta Arenas, it's gonna rise like to your left, but then it's gonna come up behind your head.
It was still east to west though.
Still east to west, but it's still going the same way. Like I made this. This is really, really not a work of Picasso, so completely forgive me for the absurdity of this. But I did this earlier. I just threw star trails from the equator, and I just went into paint and drew some really ridiculous things on there. But I mean that I know it's ridiculous, but yeah. So I mean, you have the clockwise and counterclockwise. If you would imagine the sun is, you know, the northern 24-hour sun would be the one in the upper right, the southern. So like you get that right to left pattern in the south at the 24-hour sun, and it matches what it would be at 53 degrees. It's
Well, I
the
mean,
same motion.
the only way it changes if you change your direction that you're looking. You know what I mean? So it's just by your perspective, going left to right instead of right to left from one direction. But if you go here and you look at the sun and you look towards the north, it's gonna go right to left. Same shit. If you wake up to sunrise, you look north, the sun's gonna come up from your right and it's gonna land on your left. Still gonna go east to west.
I think I see what you're saying. I mean, do you contest that if you were at the 24-hour sun in the north, you'd see it going left to right, and then if you're seeing the 24-hour sun in the south, it's going right to left? It's going the opposite. Would you agree or disagree?
Which way you're facing though? Which way are you facing?
Well, if you're seeing the 24-hour sun, it doesn't matter which way you're facing. You could be facing north, south, east, or west. It's still going left to right or right to left. When you're seeing the 24-hour, it doesn't matter which way you're looking. You could be looking south, north, east, anywhere. It's just always going right to left, let's say in the south. From your right
They
hand.
go around in a circle? Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
it's still gonna follow an east to west trajectory. And back to east and back and then go around in circles. East, west, east, west, east, west. Regardless. It's just your perspective of which way the direction you're looking at. Just goes around in a circle.
I sent Gio a nice note today. Thank you for airing that stuff and for putting in so many hours every day, so many days a week, and for being there. It's a thankless job, and it's certainly not about the money. So I thought he deserved the thanks, and I sent a note from all the people that don't get around to saying it because everyone's quick to bitch, you know. So I felt I should be quick to not bitch one day.
Yeah, I saw that. I appreciate that, Dan. Yeah, I was able to read it, but I wasn't able to respond yet. But yeah, man, appreciate that.
I just wanted everyone else to know how hard it is to be a host and how patience, how much energy you put out just for patience, and just to be there so it doesn't have to be moderated. It's a lot of effort, and it does carry your personality and your not your will. It doesn't carry your agenda, and that's really kind of it. It'd be hard to pin you down on an agenda. He's doing it for this reason.
For the truth and the community to be able to have the discussions.
And think tank's fun. When it's working well, it's a think tank. Functional.
Yeah, I think ultimately to be able to discuss these topics with some level of cordiality, because all of the interpersonal stuff seems to distract a lot from being able to have productive conversations at times. So,
but you see how I've been trying to hammer Jeran to figure it out, dude. Where are you? Figure it out. You're still Jeran, He could, if he goes in a direction, he may or may not be interesting enough. Like his show looks slick enough, He's got that part of it down. Speaking of which, you remember Hori Sheet and how slick his show was?
yeah, man, I saw him. He just did a stream today.
No way.
Yeah, dude, he's got like long hair. He looked. Yeah, I saw. He literally went live, and I kind of flipped it on and looked for a second, but I didn't really hear what he was talking about. But yeah, dude, Hori Sheet did a live stream today.
How weird for me to mention it.
Well, I thought you saw it when you mentioned his name. I figured.
No, but he was a slick. He didn't look at the controls while he was doing stuff. You didn't notice that he was the producer, at the same time. That's how good he was at it. Kind of like a guitarist that knows where the pedals are. Shit. He doesn't have to dick around. So, Jeran does have that going. If Jeran gave a shit, we'd have more debates. But when he did that, flat earthers wouldn't come around. So he's not even really able to have debates. And he's still protecting a couple of his friends that are still flat earthers. I guess me and Crumb and a couple other people that can't afford to change. Or, I don't know, like people got themselves in a situation. What do you do? What do you do with this energy? Run off and go believe in something? It's just hard to apply flat earth energy now. I don't have anyone to do it with. Just me and Jeremy. Which is what I refer to as we. You would make a bad moderator, Joe. And as of Thursday, they didn't have a moderator. It would be nice to hold them both to the instead of pretending they're going after each other. So of all the gates, I guess Witsit may have lied because he had a vape on him. Not really sure how we killed the momentum. I did a couple hours at Omnivore infrared, and man, it's so valid. So it turns out Martin Stubbs was recording the shuttle bay door infrared from missions STS-46 through STS-68. And on 68, there was a couple of anomalies that turned up live, and they scrambled it ever since. And we haven't seen infrared space since. And there's so much stuff going on up there. I'm convinced the ISS is unmanned. They literally don't pan and show the moon. They don't pan and show any satellites going by. They don't show up or down. They don't use infrared, so it's blacked out 12 hours a day for nothing. It's absurd. Like, they don't show space. No, and they don't show, of course, any rockets coming up, which is supposedly a weekly event now. Imagine being on the ISS, knowing that Artemis was going to be. It circled the Earth first, then went to the moon, a 3-day journey before coming back, and there's no images of it. It's pretty funny. I looked for a rocket coming from the Earth, and I did find one, but no one's caught me on it yet. And there's a cut at the end, so it could be fake. But there's a little dot approaching, the ISS, or whatever it's approaching. Yeah, I guess. But I think it was Artemis. Like, you could see a little dot out there for half an hour coming towards you. That was impressive. But there was a cut at the end, so I don't even know what the little dot was. All of a sudden, they were docking,
You saw this from the ground?
No. It's when I've been looking for rockets in space, there's actually some footage of what was that one capsule name?
It's interesting how all this is a separate topic, kind of, but go ahead. I was
No,
just thinking
no.
something a little different.
What's up?
I was just thinking how all the stars generally look to be about the same distance from us, yet in their model they claim that they're like all light years difference in distance. But like generally they all look like. I mean, I know there's some are a little brighter than others, but when you look up at the stars, it's like a oh, what's the word I was looking for?
Like a banner, like one field.
Yeah, it's like one field. Yeah, they don't look like they're all different distances, other than just the brightnesses. But I was gonna say, like a tapestry, like one tapestry. Yeah, sort of like if you're in a planetarium and you have like the ceiling of the planetarium, maybe the ceiling's 30 feet away from you, and all the stars are at 30 feet. It's kind of what it looks like when you walk outside. Like they all look like they're generally the same distance, but in their model, they're supposed to be like drastically different distances. I was just saying, like you were talking about, I don't know, rockets in space and stuff, and I was just thinking about the idea of it actually being a huge extended void, and I was just thinking how it really doesn't look like that.
Well, what's even weirder is that in space there's no nighttime, so it never looks like. It never looks like what we see at night. Only on the back of the Earth does the sky look like that. Otherwise, it's lit all the time. Isn't that a trip? Like, there is no night in space. You could just shadow up behind something and then call it night. Call it a night. Let's call it a night, Bill. Let's go huddle up behind that planet. Call it.
Yeah, there's no really nighttime. That's funny.
Isn't that interesting?
Yeah, it's just kind of looking away from the sun, I guess, in their model.
So that dark balloon look, where the sky goes black, must be the way it looks in space. or could be the way it looks in space. I don't really get that image of, God forbid would the ISS show me the sun one day, right? Sun or the moon, like the biggest things in the sky. You think they'd show it once in a while? Especially like up in the Koopa, they'd be like, hey, look, there's the sun and there's the moon. Like, just once. It's really bizarre if they don't show that. I don't think it's manned. They're definitely not showing us the infrared local sky. It's way too busy to say that, it's, dust or ice crystal or satellite. There's just too many different directions, too many different speeds, too many different sizes, and some are flashing, some aren't, some are like really slow, some are really fast. So I wonder why they're not talking about how busy the sky really is. For instance, a 24-hour cam, you think would be the first expectation. And if there's all these satellites pointed at the Earth, because only flat earthers would want a cam on the moon, you think we'd see stuff. Satellites, rockets, sun and the moon. So I guess there's two other Hubbles that are a little shorter that were to look down instead of look up. And as far as I could tell, they were never launched. They've been donated now by the CIA to like the Smithsonian or something. They're called Stubby Hubble. They're like 15 feet shorter or something.
Do you think they even have any of these up there, like the James Webb or Hubble, or do you think they're all just from the ground?
There's some stuff in the sky. I don't know how much of it's real, but there is stuff in the sky.
Well, like in their model, they say the James Webb is, what they claim it is. But I'm just saying, if it's not that, are those images just complete CGI, or are they actually taking images of the sky from the ground or from high altitude?
Dude, I can totally do a whole presentation with the artist names and how proud they are of their work. They're not taking those pictures. They're not. The artists are really proud of working for that. In the end, they consider themselves science communicators, and they don't have any problem portraying what they think it might look like. That's why you get some of those dramatic colors in those nebulas and shit and clouds, because they want to show the contrast of the different ways that they shot and got some of that texture. But they're different shots. None of it's visible like that. It was all different spectrums. They bring it up all this contrast. It looks dramatic. They said they actually start with the black. The artist starts with black, splatters some stars and shit up there. Then they say what they want it to look like. So let's say it's Neptune, and it's kind of green, it's kind of fuzzy, and like the artist throws it out there, and then they have to go basically from desk to desk and get consensus on what everyone thinks it looks like. And then the artist depicts that. And the one campaign I looked up, I can't remember it was original Artemis or what it was, but she used to work for a car advertisement place. Like, the whole campaign that went around this car's release and the artwork and the outreach. And they're proud of their work, but it's not astronomy. And then 6-7 years later, they start being interviewed as if they fucking are experts. So it's weird they actually become spokespeople because they know more than anyone else. But they came in as fucking interns, artists, interns, total interns, not scientific people. That now they're being interviewed on behalf of how nebulas work and shit. So no, I don't think that stuff's real. I could bring up a whole bunch of great stuff on it. And the artists are really proud of their other work. One of them makes cakes. When she's not doing Hubble, the one you mentioned, when she's not doing J, she's making custom cake. And she made one look like Webb. Just to rub it in.
Are you guys all gooning quietly?
Kind of just in between topics. You got something?
Yeah, I want to talk to Tora or Lion about the.
Oh, here we go.
Fire it up. Let's go.
What's up, you goober?
Queue up when globe. Q Up got so inspired by Jeran, he's going back to the globe.
Oh, what'd you guys learn from your second walkthrough? Your second watch through?
We missed the first part yesterday, so and then people wanted to rewatch it again. So I think I only really missed the first. I guess like Jeran's opening. I guess we kind of missed both their openings.
I said this joke on another server already, but it's like they were doing like a WWE fight.
You don't think the tension's legitimate between Witsit and Jeran?
Oh my god, bro!
The conflict, it's more than tension. It's a whole conflict,
Bro, it's so fake.
a whole drama.
Really? Is your discernment?
I think it's legitimate.
Q Up, we gotta take you to Antarctica.
Well, if I go, they're gonna pay me to say there's a 24-hour sun. I'll be down.
You're gonna take the money?
Yeah.
You would do it if somebody actually did that?
I'll go hang out with Witsit.
All this time you call everybody shills and agents, yet you're just willing to take a shill check.
Yeah, I never said I wasn't.
What do you think of the 2-pole flat Earth maps or models? Queue up. Like you
Well,
have
I think
2 poles in the sky, 2 poles on the ground, land out, laid out in between.
no, I got the pole. I got my pole, my second pole underneath.
Wasn't it interesting that that's how like an electric field is laid out? You know, you got the vortex and the counter vortex and the whole way an electric field looks is exactly like the sky does. So the ground is, you got two poles and the land is laid out. Like, what do you think of that type of layout? The biggest issue with it is that if you go east or west on the equator, which is a straight line, what happens? You know, do you hit an ice wall? Do you loop around or Pac-Man around? That's like the biggest thing with it. But at least it accounts for the sky. You have the straight line at the equator, straight stars, and then the two 24-hour suns, north and south. But what do you think of that one?
Well, I didn't change my model from TFE.
So what is your model then? Like the Gleason's map with the sun going around like a merry-go-round?
Well, I think the sun, turns right, goes north, goes around the North Pole. I don't know about the map. I think there's probably stuff missing. Probably. I think the AE map, like the David Weiss one with the tropics is probably a little bit different than the reality, especially if they really are seeing, the sun go like kind of a little bit to the left or whatever they say. That would mean, that they either are closer in, like, closer to the North Pole, like, or farther over than how he had laid it out, or the tropic is going farther out.
So when the sun's at the Tropic of Capricorn, like when it's in the southern summer, do you think that it's still circling Polaris, or do you think it's circling Sigma Octantis? Like, what is it doing when the sun's
Yeah,
at the Tropic of Capricorn?
yeah. I don't think it's. I don't know what the Sigma Octantis is. I don't know if that's real, but I think it's going around Polaris. Well, not Polaris, but the vortex. In the North Pole.
So you think it goes around Polaris all the time, basically?
Yeah. Well, it's not. I think it's like below Polaris, but yeah.
So you think in the south it arcs off to the left, but then somehow it still ends up going around Polaris somehow, even though it's arcing the other way?
Oh, is it arcing or? It's not turning left. It's just farther. It's just to the left. Like, it's just not going straight over people. In some places in the south, it's going a little to the left of them.
Well, it's like if it's summer in the north, meaning the sun's at the Tropic of Cancer, and you're looking out west over the ocean, the sun is going to sort of go from left to right as it's setting. It's going to like curve off to the right, basically, as it kind of goes around Polaris. But if you're at the Tropic of Capricorn, when the sun is at the Tropic of Capricorn 6 months later, when the sun sets, it doesn't arc off to the right, was what one would think if it kept circling Polaris. It arcs off to the left.
Do you have any videos of that? Like, I don't know how. I don't know if it's like. Is it still? It's still a straight line though, right? It's just going over people's optical dome. It's not a big, dome of vision we got here.
Well, it arcs the other way. Like this picture, which I think I sent this in a DM to you once, but posting in the chat, but just the star trails. So, I mean, just like those star trails are arcing. Well, it doesn't really show it exactly because of the angle here, but maybe, yeah, I mean, everything arcs the other way in the south, including the sun. So yeah, that's why it rises south of east and sets south of west. That south of west is arcing off from right to left, basically. That's how Jeran was saying it, right to left, which It's fine to say it that way. But yeah, I mean, they took video of that in Punta Arenas. There's tons of video of that. I mean, anyone who lives in Australia, just call them up. I mean, there's tons of footage of how the sun sets and rises in the south in their summer. Anyone who's even in Australia can check it anytime. Or South Africa or South America. I'm like there is this kind of idea which would like fit like an AE thing kind of. Like this is kind of an AE type like concentric circles and you put that lens over it, which is pretty cool. You put like a dome lens and it creates that kind of arcing off to the right and left, you know. So I mean that's kind of like a cool idea, like maintaining an AE map type of thing. I think that's pretty cool. Also like Brian Leakey did this where he took a glass dome and put it over like a sheet of paper. But what he's putting it over is this basically. Like he made just straight lines of stars, all parallel straight lines, and then he just plopped a glass lens dome over it, and then it makes that arcing and anti-arcing. So that's pretty cool.
That is cooler than the other one. The other one's because just mirroring the North Stars in the South don't give you independent star patterns like they have. You know, so mirroring doesn't help. They have their own stars. So top one I'm not as into.
They're on the right track. It's definitely something like that, bro. Like it's too far fetched. It's a bridge too far for a lot of people. Because then you get into theoretical physics, and a lot of flat earthers like 24/7. They just want to be materialists. It has to be physically verifiable. If not, they won't even entertain it. And that's why flat Earth is kind of like at a roadblock right now, bro.
I just don't think the sun is really like they're both like everything seems to be like, you know, spinning around the vortex, like, you know, because of the same vortex probably. But I don't think the sun is behaving like the stars really. Like the stars do some wacky shit. If all this stuff is even real, which I can't really confirm. I'm not gonna do, you know, plot it all out and see if like the people's videos match or whatever.
Yeah,
But the sun and the moon are they're pretty standard things that seem to be really important for the ecosystem to be circling in the same path over and over.
Yeah, I'm a flat earther, but I don't like that term, dude. But I'm not ashamed of it either. But yeah, the AE map is really just like a distorted, incomplete blueprint what reality is. But that's what it is. It's a circle in the deep. It's a circle, not a. And it's like I get the dual pole model. We're trying to make sense of what we see in the sky, and they're trying to abandon the traditional model that the ancients subscribed to, right? Ubiquitously across the board, we have this idea of a primordial waters, cosmic ocean, a firmament, the circle of the earth, and then Mount Meru, Shambhala, Mount Sinai. I mean, not Mount Sinai, Mount Zion at the middle. That's what I believe in.
Yeah, I mean, I like that as well. It's very like elegant and beautiful. And I mean, I've talked a lot about the two pole kind of layouts, but I mean, I'm not asserting that's what it is. I haven't mapped the entire Earth, but the issues with the sun, the 24-hour sun in the south, and the stars are pretty. I just see that it's virtually insurmountable with an AE map if there are consistent GPs. Because like I was saying last night, I won't go a whole long thing. I know I went a lot on it last night, but I mean, if you like freeze frame the sky at any one time, you just freeze it. And you can actually like, if you would adjust for for the 4 minute difference between the sidereal and solar, day, you can get the same sky every night in a row. So like you could, you don't have to just freeze frame at one moment. You could actually get the same positions by just adjusting at 4 minutes. So like if like 3 in the morning one night, you're like, boom, I want this sky right here. Then if you adjust it by 4 minutes the next day, 4 minutes the next day, you get the same freeze frame of the sky. So if you did that, and then you in theory went all the way around the Earth and you put little flags underneath the GPs of the sun, the moon, and all the stars, you would conceivably end up with two circles, just like you have the two star trail rotations, and then straight at the equator. So you'd end up with like flags all over the ground that would be, in those two vortex and the two counter vortex and the vortex of the two rotations. So if you have that with a dual pole type model, then yeah, you basically have, that would just be it. As above, so below, 2-pole sky, 2-pole ground. You'd have the North Pole, and then you'd have the 90 degrees south. And then all the stars would be what it is. The land would have to be laid out in between. But yeah, there are issues with like the east-west circumnavigation. But the thing is that on AE map, if you want to have the 24-hour sun that's going around the outside of a rim and the stars that are going the outside of the rim, then as you move, as you walk along the ice wall, as it were, on the outside, all the GPs would have to move with you. So if somebody could prove that there's different GPs or multiple GPs for any one celestial object, I guess it would actually give way to that. But if without that, I don't see any way it can be possible, because there's only one GP for each celestial body at any one freeze frame moment. It doesn't move as you walk around. The sun doesn't move either like that. There's one GP of the sun all the time. There's not more than one GP. If somebody showed more than one GP of the sun, then okay, but if there's one GP, then it's above one place. Seems potentially unlikely. Plus, the great distances between the continents for the AE map seems potentially unlikely that it really is those distances. But just like, how would they hide that from everybody? I mean, you can buy a yacht and go sailing the oceans, if you're having the money.
I
So,
did the
mean,
research. I did
to
some
hide that.
research, and the South has a lot more places. The South Hemisphere has a lot more places that you can't navigate.
That's interesting. Like, yeah, like the deep. I agree. I mean, like, who goes to the deep Pacific Ocean? I mean, I hear you. What were you finding?
I was just using ChatGPT to figure out, which has more places you can't go to, and it's more places in the South. But they blame like weather and stuff like that.
That just seems like that would be like really hard to hide, the greater distances, because it's dramatically larger distances in the South. So it just seems like that would be a massive thing to hide from all of humanity through all this time.
I don't think so.
Well, I mean, if you have your own yacht, you can go sail all over, right? I mean, there's no like specific laws. Like you could just go sail on the Southern Pacific, right? Southern Atlantic. I mean, I don't know.
I don't know, dude. You can barely do anything in this world without fucking some permit.
So you think the controllers like deceived us about the globe, and then they just gave us the AE map and put it on the front of the World Health Organization with a snake around the around the staff thing, the caduceus, right, with the AE map, the United Nations? Like, you think they're just, you go with like the truth in plain sight, like they're just giving us the map, the true shit right there? You think that's how?
No, I think there's more. I think it's probably different than the AE map, but it's probably closer to that than the globe or any of these like new ad hoc TFE models.
Well, the 2-pole ones aren't really ad hoc. I mean, those have been known about for years. I mean, those are like projections that are, some of them are like hundreds of years old. Like if you go to the map projections Wikipedia page and look at all the different projections, basically you've got globe, square, AE, and 2-pole. Is
Yeah, but
generally like
those
all
aren't
the
models though. That's just like a like for some reason they just drew it like that just because it's like easy to split it into two for drawing it.
Well, they're map projections because if you have a 2-pole, like if you have one AE map that comes out from the North Pole and then another AE that comes out from the South Pole, you have two AEs. That's like sort of like the two hemispheres of a globe. So that's why some of those 2-pole kind of looking projections are connected to what they would claim like the globe, related, the northern sort of hemisphere, hemiplane, and then the southern. So that's why those are projections, because they're kind of representations of the hemispheres. The square ones are what those are, and then yeah, kind of in a square grid. Then obviously the AE is the single pole from the center, and then the globe. It's pretty much the only layouts there are. It seems like I'm just saying in a very generalized sense. There's obviously like tweaks of all those, but they're all kind of one variation of those. So in terms of what the Earth is, it's like one of those: square, 2-pole flat Earth, 1-pole flat Earth, globe. I guess concave if somebody wants to invert a globe and do that deal, but. I guess there's some other ones like a cylinder one. There are a few others, but. So you don't think the no 24-hour sun was actually the psyop? You don't consider that Q up, that like them pushing the AE model and then saying there is no 24-hour sun, that's the actual psyop to try to destroy flat Earth, to try to get it to where it's easily verifiable that there is a 24-hour sun. Therefore, they're trying to kill all of flat Earth. Like, do you consider that as a possibility?
I maybe did for a little bit, but then they showed us the movie and it was pretty bad.
So you're going the other way, that the AE is true and that the psyop is that there isn't a 24-hour sun there, basically, is what you're going with?
Well, the like an AE type layout, but not like the exact map. But yeah.
Yeah. I gotcha. I'm not really. I mean, I haven't mapped the whole Earth, like I said, so I wouldn't have.
Did you see my debate with McToon?
I actually, yeah, a little while ago. Yeah, I did actually see that. I think I watched it. The part where you were talking with him. Yeah, I did see it. I think I saw most of it.
We I went a lot deeper with the repeating cloud. He's he just calls it a lens flare, but then I showed that I had to reorient. I had to shift the the image a little bit to match it, and it's a perfect match once you like reorient it. But basically, by the end of the video, the camera is a little bit shifted, probably because the legs might be moving in the fake snow or the real snow or whatever they are. So that kind of debunks the argument which they gave. Most of the the Globers or whatever, the defenders say it's a repeating lens flare, and you can't have a perfectly repeating, very strange looking lens flare, very unique looking lens flare, if the tripod is at a different angle.
Yeah, I think I know the one you're talking about. I remember we had looked at it. I mean, if you want to show it, I know I had zoomed in and they were different. Also, dude, that guy Taboo Conspiracy, there was some clip I think David Weiss put on his channel recently. It was like an older clip from one of the older 24-hour sun videos in the South. And he was like, look at how this lens flare is the same, like with his voice. And he was like so confident in it. And he was like, it's so obvious. It's the same. It's fakery. We got it. Dude, I zoomed into it. They're totally different. Totally
Oh
different.
no, yeah, but this one is
Just
like
he's the most easily debunked thing I've ever seen, and the Taboo Conspiracy is acting like he's just like on
well,
top
yeah,
of the world,
perhaps.
killing it, nailing it, bombed it. And I'm just like, are you joking, bro? Did you?
Well,
All I had to do was zoom into the lens flares, and they're totally different, pixel for pixel, without any doubt.
yeah, perhaps that one, but the one I showed, when we zoomed it in, and it's literally the exact, all the same pixels.
Well, you'd
You know,
have to
it's,
show me that. Maybe I'd be open to see that. I mean, I'm not on the fence at all about whether their thing. Oh, here I just found it. I don't know if this is the one you're talking about, but I have these because I had grabbed these. I just randomly. I can't believe these came up this quickly because I thought they were.
no, that's
Anyways,
not it.
this is not the one. All right. Well, yeah, this one is different. Obviously, this is one of the ones that was claimed that I just grabbed a screenshot of. And they're obviously different. I mean, show yours if you want. I mean, I'm not. I mean, I'm open to seeing stuff. Like I said, I'm not really like.
I'm not on my computer.
Yeah, it's all good. Well, if you want to talk about other stuff, feel free. I mean, I was just asking what you thought about some of this stuff these days, but if you guys wanted to talk about another topic, go for it. Unless you
Lion,
wanna
scene done is not Lennon.
get a like Eamon Hillman going.
Thief is kleptes. Laces is child trafficker. So Dan, you back to flat Earth? I heard you debate Globers today.
Hang on, I was in the other room. The question was, what side am I on? I have good arguments for both, and I there's, you know, it's not very clear that flat Earth has, you know, it's no fun. So I don't know what to do, you know, with flat Earth unless I just like commit to making it fun, and I just don't have the energy to put up a front. It was fun. I don't think I can make it and enjoy it. I mean, it could be fun. I could have a shit show. I don't think I'd. And the best thing I could possibly do would be the easiest, and I just could never get the cooperation of DaMnS. But the idea of putting DaMnS in a globe and walking around, people think that I'm a ventriloquist, but it's really him. And the idea of people symbolically arguing with the globe is just brilliant. It's hysterical. So that'd be the funnest thing to do, is turn DaMnS loose in the street. But I just don't see the freedom to have fun.
I don't know if that sounds safe, but that's a whole other topic.
It's not, but to see people irate at, you know, as I walk away and the globe's just on the table and they're yelling at it, you know.
I just have a sense that the police would be called, but I don't know. Well, I don't know, man. It's just like the question is, I mean, with all of this, like, is it going to be some evangelical movement, as it were, you know, or is it going to come in a different way, you know, through more data research, more time, resources? I'm just saying, like, is it like more of an evangelical, like the way it was years ago? It was a little bit more like get to the streets and get the word out and tell everyone the Earth's not a globe, you know, and that had some motion to it in certain ways, but yeah, just the state of the world, the intensity of this topic, the nuance of all the dynamics of it, the fact that we need a lot of resources and time to get more data and testing and things to really be able to present more information, you know, outside of just, I'm not saying that there's only rhetoric in these conversations, but there can be a fair amount of rhetoric. So I'm just saying outside of, you know, philosophy or, you know, conceptual things around NASA or just, you know, things like that. So, yeah, I mean, maybe it's sort of shifting and evolving into something, you know, a little bit different maybe than it was years ago as well.
It's just we just have to be careful of what we learned from this, you know, is that we're capable of putting our faith into something because we want to, not because it had any other value than we gave it. Almost like a crypto, you know. So it's interesting to know where value comes from in the collective of people's minds, things become valuable, possessions or trading. I don't know if it's, in this case, it wasn't about goods. So it's just, in growth, it had a lot of good energy. Without growth, I don't know. I don't know how to even approach it. I mean, so basically, I can concentrate on the other thing prior to flat Earth, because those are, some of the things that made me get into flat Earth, was that I knew some things were bullshit. So flat Earth was a great platform for truth when it appeared like a truth movement. Now it's a platform for conversation, but I don't feel it's a platform for truth. And as soon as you introduce religion, they haven't decided which one's right. So what can I say? Thousands of churches.
Dude, I can't even really believe that there's like Christian Globers. I mean, I can, of course, but it's pretty mind blowing when they're just even understanding the scriptures are just has nothing to do with the globe, the whole realm. That's a whole separate topic, but it's just still perplexing in a way that if they really were into that tradition, that they wouldn't actually have an understanding of what's even represented there. But like, there's just millions of Christians who just basically think the world is something completely different than what Genesis even lays out.
So
Do you think the globe is a religion, Dan?
Nah, maybe by definition. Let me tell you my Bible story, right? First of all, Wendell Walton bought me a Bible. And I figure if you're a good Christian, buying someone a Bible is pretty smart. So, like, only one guy ever did. So he tells me I got to read John, right? And then I tell Rick Hummer, who's the only other guy I let preach to me, and he says, "Oh no, you gotta read it from the beginning." So I open up the Bible that Wendell gave me, and Genesis isn't in it because it's some other translation of the Bible called the Passion. So I got confused and put it back. But evidently, John's supposed to be. Everyone tells me I should read the Book of John. Does anyone know what the Book of John's about?